So we're going to go in the analytical laboratory. This is where we do a lot of testing on the beers for alcohol levels and flavor compounds. It's a real chemistry lab.
This lab room is part of the home base for White Labs. The San Diego company is one of the largest yeast sellers in the country. Owner Chris White says yeast is crucial for making beer.
Most people would know that it makes the alcohol. Yeast consume the sugars from the malted barley. The brewers extract those sugars out, and then yeast consume those sugars and produce ethanol.
Yeast also makes those little bubbles that drift up a cold glass of beer. And White says yeast creates flavor. That's one reason for the White Labs testing room. It features identical beers made with different yeast strains.
And I could talk for hours about yeast, or in 5 minutes you can try the different yeast strains and go, oh, I see what they do. I see how important this is.
White holds a biochemistry PhD, and he started cooking up beer with his friends in San Diego 20 years ago. Some of them just sold their Ballast Point brewery for $1 billion.
In 2009, I don't think any of us saw it coming, but in 2009, the industry really started taking off because consumers started noticing. Before then, it was the real kind of beer geeks that were paying attention.
Those beer geeks laid the foundation for an industry that's doubled in size in just the past 5 years, and White Labs had a major role in that success. Small or large, White Lab yeast can be found in beer made at every brewery in the region.
They drive over here, pick it up from will call, and go home so they can use different strains every day, every week they want to. So it allows a lot of different beer styles to be brewed because each yeast strain is really important in the different beer styles. And if something goes wrong with the beers, they can bring it here. We have a lab that can do a lot of analytical analysis.
Local brewers didn't have to rely on a small vial of yeast shipped from out of town. White Labs made batch-size quantities of high-quality yeast. The local access is invaluable for a craft beer industry that is bent on perfecting San Diego-specific beers.
We're doing something where we can touch it, feel it, smell it, drink it, if you will. In doing so, that allows us to kind of expound and do things in a quicker fashion and also a larger fashion.
Mother Earth isn't the largest beer maker in the county, but the firm is in the top 10, according to the San Diego Business Journal. Hopkins says the brewery got there because it made a good product that found a receptive audience. And Mother Earth can replicate that brew, vat after vat, batch after batch.
Craft brewing is extremely meticulous. It's akin to baking, which is I think the most structured of the cooking disciplines, if you will. It's time, temperature, and recipe driven. You have to do it right every single time or the end result is going to be different. That starts with the quality of goods that you start out with.
Hopkins says brewers do develop their own yeast, but large-scale production is exponentially easier when they can focus on cooking. And the craft beer cluster has cooked up a pretty big economic footprint. A study from the National University System Institute for Policy Research measured that footprint at $600 million. The industry created 5,000 local jobs. And the San Diego Business Journal says more than half of the locally produced craft beer on its annual list of biggest brewers is sold outside the region.
White Labs is the linchpin for the craft beer industry here in San Diego being an industry cluster.
National University's Vince Vasquez says the region fermented a passion for brewing and had plenty of customers willing to try innovative products. White Labs has been there for 20 years, priming the pump.
It's knowledge transfer. It's this real organic process of what I do and what you can learn from what I do and seeing what I do. And that's something that's really unique to the San Diego craft brewing region.
Vasquez says 12% of all the beer consumed in the nation is craft beer. That percentage climbs to 35 to 40% in San Diego County. Even mega brewers like Anheuser-Busch and S.A.B. Miller are buying or opening craft beer places here.
I think certainly there's a lot more room to run when it comes to craft breweries opening, craft brew pubs. That being said, I think San Diego does continue to have these higher expectations of those newer brewers and brew pubs that are opening have to meet or have to exceed.
San Diego's craft brewing hub rose in prominence in large part because of the presence of White Labs, but the local craft beer industry only represents a small slice of the company's business. White Labs sells yeast nationally and it boasts international offices in Denmark and Hong Kong. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.